Welcome back to the Coach Business School podcast. We're going to tackle that big topic, neurodiverse coaching, ADHD coaching, all types of different neurodiverse coaching. It's the big exploding area of coaching right now because I think so many adults are starting to discover their own neurodiversity as their children are being diagnosed. And our expert with us today is none other than Louise Ramage. Yes, you heard that correctly. She's my wonderful sister-in-law. Is also a big part of our Coach Business School. Louise really oversees a lot of our academic program, especially around training our coaches to perform at a world-class level in terms of their practical delivery as part of our course. So we are going to dive deeper into that as well, some tips and tricks around creating world-class coaching sessions, as well as digging a lot deeper into that big topic that is neurodiversity in coaching and why being neurodiverse yourself can make you an even better coach. Before we begin, just a reminder, this episode, as always, is brought to you by my Coach Business School, where I do the bulk of the training and the delivery. That's really important to us. We only train a small set of coaches every year because we want to give you world-class experience. That's why we train more successful coaches than anyone else. So if you're thinking about coaching, go to coachbusiness.school. And if you're already an accredited coach, come and join me on my Coach MBA. Whether you've just got a handful of clients, you're just warming up, or you've got hundreds of clients, this is the place and space to come to take your coaching business to a whole new level, to create that coaching business of your dreams. Go to coachbusiness.school. Okay, let's get into today's brilliant conversation with the fabulous Louise. Welcome to the Coach Business School podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I think this is going to work, hopefully. We've had a couple of set-up issues, to say the least, this morning. So, Lou, welcome.
Thank you.
You've been here a couple of times before.
I have.
So, for those listening, Lou is my wonderful sister-in-law, as well as a huge part of the Coach Business School, our neurodiversity expert in terms of our coaching, as well as academic lead in terms of doing a lot of work with our students that come through in terms of their observations and making sure that they're at the level they need to be to graduate from our courses and also be really professional and ethical when they go out into the world and coach.
Yes, and having lived the experience and doing the course as well, it's great that I've got that lived experience to share with people that are on the course.
Yeah, and that's been really important to us, isn't it? That everyone really involved in our organisation has sat the diploma course at least. Yeah. So they've got that. Well, actually, and you've sat both courses, diploma course and our MBA, which is all about marketing course.
Yeah.
So you're all over it.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. So there's loads that I want to cover off for you, but let's just dive straight in around the diploma course and some of the things that you notice for students coming through it in terms of their practice and their actual like in-person coaching or online coaching. What are some of the things that you see?
I think that some of our coaches initially lack a bit of confidence in themselves and the belief that they can do it. And actually, I think it's amazing how quickly they pick up all the skills from the learning and implement them in coaching sessions. I think the triads are an amazing way of having...
And what's the triad?
So a triad is where we go into groups of 3. You've got an observer, a coach and a coachee, and you coach around 20 minutes and you've got a coach and a coachee and observer. Then you get together and feedback. And I think the feedback within those sessions is amazing. And people get so much from not only watching other people coach, but then also getting the feedback of what went really well and what things they could do to make it even better than it already was.
And in those triads, everyone has a go in every position, don't they? Which is it's a brilliant way to learn. And I missed that learning when I was training as a coach. And I'm a real big proponent of that as a brilliant way to accelerate learning, so that in those hour and a half style sessions, everyone gets a go at being the coach, everyone gets a go at being coached and observing coaching. And by the end of that, it's this unbelievable way to skill up and learn because you're getting to see others and their type of questions, maybe some of the stretch points that would make their coaching better, as well as some of the things that you observed which were great, but also then to receive really good coaching. And on the receiving end of a great coaching question, which you can then sort of put in your coaching backpack, seems to be a brilliant way to learn.
Yes, and I think the amount of triads that we run a week is that people have got opportunities to probably attend 3 a week. They don't have to attend 3 a week, but we can definitely see the difference in the way coaches are progressing the more they come to, because like you say, not only are they getting the opportunity to practice their coaching, they're getting coached on their coaching. And I think that has a massive impact because they're being coached every week to make them a better coach.
And that is the thing for all coaches, whether you're an accredited coach and you're out in the world coaching or you're new to coaching. It's one of those really obvious things. The more you do, the better you get. And I think, for me, that practice element is huge, even for the really senior coaches, to be able to experiment with new tools, techniques, approaches in a really safe learning space. It's worth its weight in gold. So on that note, for our graduates, they get that opportunity to be part of those triads ongoing. Forever, effectively, any of our graduates. So what's great about that, it creates that nice boiling pot of really new coaches that are in the diploma course and those that have been senior experienced coaches now for 2 or 3 years that are all still in those same triads. You're getting to learn from different experience levels as well.
Yeah, and that's amazing to see people coming back that trained with us 2 and 3 years ago, and then they get put in a room with someone that's fairly new, and people are like, oh my goodness, they're amazing. And then, but some of the experienced coaches are like, I can't believe you've only been on the course for 2 months, and like, you were brilliant. I've got so much from that. So, and I think that's definitely the quality of the coaching within the course is amazing. I think I've said this to you before, when I went on to do my ACC training, they said straight away, oh, you've got lots of PCC elements within your coaching, and that's from doing the course. And I think the quality of the teaching within the course, and I think there was somebody else who's joined the Association for Coaching Triads, and again, he was like, going against really experienced coaches, and I held my own and actually felt like I was probably superior to some of these people that have been coaching for years. Yeah,
and that was someone that was in training, and I think that is really important. You can't get enough practice as a coach, and I think even when you're going out there building a proper coaching business and you're charging money for your coaching, and rightly so, it's still great to have the opportunity to practice. And sometimes when you are trying to build your coaching business and there isn't a lot of clients around, I think that can be one of the more challenging parts of coaching, because you're not getting the practice because you don't have an influx of clients just yet. So if you can offset that through practice triads to keep that skill high, then when you do land a client, for example, an opportunity in coaching, you feel really prepared and confident and competent.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I think it's the confidence element. Coming to those triads, building your confidence, and you can see how quickly the students' confidence build within those sessions. And like you say, if you then go out into the real world, maybe don't get a client, don't do any coaching, don't have any coaching, then you can often become a bit stuck, and then it's really hard to it's like get back on the bike, isn't it? And like keep going, because you've just not been exposed to it. And I think that's when people then not necessarily give up, but they become stuck. Where I think for our coaches, they've got this opportunity from when they finish their diploma to keep being in our world, keep having free coaching, keep being coached, keep practicing, and getting this ongoing feedback. Like, I love going into the rooms in the triads and watching coaches, and I pick things up now from people, and I'm like, God, that's a great way to describe what coaching is and isn't. And it's just great to be part of it all.
Yeah, and I would say for me, I spend a lot of my time in those rooms and working with coaches as well, and it's a brilliant way to skill up your own coaching.
Yeah.
I'm constantly doing it. I just nick everyone else's good ideas, steal all their questions. That's part of it though, right? And then you end up with that coaching backpack that makes you better as a coach. So let's sort of move on from that a little bit and talk about you as a coach and your adventure into coaching, which I think is really indicative of a lot of people that come to coaching. Like, mine was through that curiosity and pain point of feeling a bit lost in a big city career and lacking meaning and purpose. And it got me thinking and reading new books and experiencing new things. And I stumbled into coaching, and yours really came about, which we are seeing a lot of, someone that's working in the public sector for many, many years, very vocational, meaning-led and driven, but you found that really difficult in the end to manage, in a more complex world that is often the public sector, which I think we're seeing lots and lots of people from all public sectors coming to coaching. So what was your story?
So you're a big part of my story, Andy,
yes,
obviously.
Good.
So I obviously taught for, nearly 20 years. And I think you said to me, would you like to come my coaching calls? And I was like, no, I can't factor that in right now. And you were like, honestly, I think you'd love it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, all right then, because I say yes to lots of things. And then I think month 3 on the course, I think there was a unit about happiness and what is actual happiness and are you actually happy? And I was like, actually, no, I'm really not. I came off the training day, said to Rob, I'm going to hand my notice in at work.
Rob is my brother.
And he was like, oh my God.
What's Andy done? What's my big ginger brother gone and done?
What's Andy done now? So I handed my notice in, which was the right thing to do. But I think I needed that. I needed the coaching to give me something that realised that I didn't have to stay stuck in a way. I think I was stuck. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I loved the point of giving back and helping others, but it almost became impossible to do that. Like the way the system's set up, the lack of money, the lack of support. And then coaching gave me like an avenue, I think, to still give back, still help, but on my terms and actually feel like I was making a difference, where I feel like that I'd lost that feeling that I was really making a difference.
Yeah, and it's hard, and we see so much of that. We see so many teachers, NHS workers, frontline workers that are vocation-led in many ways, because I think all of those careers are in many ways that have been finding it more and more difficult to feel like they're actually fulfilling that vocation and really contributing and giving back. Whereas coaching, there's a lot more immediate reward, isn't there, in the sense that you get to work with someone very often one-to-one or small groups, and you start to get that feedback back.
Yeah.
And how was that for you when that started to happen?
It's like amazing. I think it's such a lovely feeling. And I think it's probably the feeling like I had when I first started teaching, and you make a difference to someone. But when you've got 30 children in a class, it's quite hard to make a difference. But then when you work with people on a one-to-one basis or even in small groups, and you see the difference that it makes, like in a relatively short amount of time to someone's life, I think it's incredible. And it's so rewarding. And I think you can use all of those skills from all these public sector roles, because you've got so much, you've got such a massive skill set to offer, and coaching almost is like the perfect fit, I feel like. Yeah,
it just gives a framework to that experience. I think that's another thing to note, like when our graduates come through and they're a bit like, I'm a new coach. I'm like, well, technically you've just learnt a skill to wrap around your life experience or your career experience that just allows you to help other people accelerate results. So look at it very much like you've got years of experience already. You've just created a wraparound to what you already do, and now you can position it in a different place and sphere effectively, i.e. that is coaching. Yeah, definitely. So with that, you go on this coaching adventure, you're courageous enough to resign. Yeah. I went, gulp. Oh no, that wasn't quite supposed to happen, but it did. Yeah. You set forth on this adventure. You then end up coaching and building this lovely coaching practice, as well as helping us. Yes. Now helping our students and as our lead in terms of the educational element of what we do, and making sure that our coaches are to the standard and the level we need them to be, which is really important. But tell us about where your coaching is now starting to drift towards in terms of your niche, because it's such a big topic in coaching that I'm so all over, of all our students, whether they're diploma students, MBA students, I'm constantly trying to get our students into something that feels more niche, because I think it's the best way to grow a really vibrant coaching practice is to have a focus. If you try and please everyone, you please no one. Yeah. And this just happens organically a lot of the time, and you've been following your sort of organic story, as it were, and it's led you to this place in coaching. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's definitely been organic. So when I first left teaching, I ran some workshops for homeschool children, wellbeing workshops, because I was like, I need to tap into something in the day while mine are at school, use my coaching knowledge and my teaching to do that. And then it was quite apparent that a lot of the children that were being homeschooled were neurodiverse, suspected neurodiverse. I've got 3 neurodiverse children of my own. So it was kind of like, what is going on? So then I kind of started to look into that a bit more, did my ADHD diploma. And then I've kind of that's what I talk about mainly, neurodiversity. I've run some parent workshops to support parents and almost supporting themselves as well as being able to support their children. And yeah, it's kind of growing and growing in terms of neurodiversity in the workplace, how I can support people, support companies to support their staff. Yeah, lots of different things.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about this as a niche, it's one of those that's feels like it's growing exponentially, that people are discovering that as adults that maybe they're neurodiverse, and a lot of this is coming through the children now. The children are being diagnosed and the parents are sort of reading through the diagnostic sheet, as it were, and doing those mental tick, that's me, tick, it's definitely me, tick, 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 tick. So I think we've got lots of people that are undiagnosed but self-diagnosed, and now more and more adults are being diagnosed with neurodiversity. And I think as a coaching niche, it's a wonderful space to be, right? Because then you've got lots of people with this newfound awareness about themselves, and then probably, you know, an understanding about some of their behaviours or the way their brains work going back into the past, but now quite an excitement about how can I manage this better now and going forward. And again, that's where I think coaching just works brilliantly.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, I had a dyslexia diagnosis at uni when I was 24, I think. And then I've kind of put a lot of my struggles down to being dyslexic. And then when my daughter was diagnosed with ADHD, which would be nearly 8 years ago, I did the whole tick, tick, tick of, oh, maybe I'm not just dyslexic. Maybe there's something else going on. I think I got the forms in 2020, and in true ADHD style, I never filled them in or sent them back.
right. So something else come along. More interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So I've recently got my ADHD diagnosis, which I think explains so much, but also it's lived experience, and I can kind of look back at things in my life. Like I say, I've got 3 neurodivergent children, so it really kind of is like lived experience of how to work slightly differently, and how your brain works differently. And I think the key is awareness. And if you're aware that your brain maybe doesn't quite work like a neurotypical person, that you need to do things slightly differently, and then you can get the support to do things slightly differently.
Yeah, I really like that frame of, it's sort of putting a harness around a superpower in some ways, because lots of people would argue actually some of these neurodiverse traits are like a superpower when there is a frame around them, I think, that can funnel that energy or that style of thinking in the right direction, as opposed to it firing off in lots of different directions. For example, although there's obviously all different strands of this, but typically I think that lovely energy of this, like harnessed in the right way, can be incredibly powerful for you going forward.
Yes, definitely. I think there's so much to learn about it, but also I think that there's the unpicking for a lot of people, that there's linked with kind of shame, criticism, like the whole thing. But the average ADHD child has received 20,000 more negative comments by the time they're 12 than a neurotypical person. And I think there's a lot of that to unpick for adults, that you've lived with a lot of criticism about maybe being lazy, maybe being late, maybe always forgetting things, and just thinking, oh, that was just me. And actually, once you realise there's a reason, that there's a bit of unpicking to do there, and coaching is great to do that, and pulling out the people pleasing and the kind of imposter syndrome, all of those things that kind of sit within that umbrella.
Yeah, and this is my favourite bit of coaching, it's that beliefs. And I can imagine anyone with neurodiversity has probably built a set of beliefs based on untruths in many ways. Maybe it is the fact they're always getting told off at school, literally going all the way back there. But because they had that beautiful busy brain, sitting down in a classroom for 8 hours a day was never going to work. But then that becomes the stories that you tell as an adult about who you are. And actually many of those stories are probably not true. And therefore great coaching helps you unpick all those stories and think, right, what about today? Who am I today? And who do I want to be going forward with this awareness? I think that's just really exciting. I think it's a brilliant area of coaching. And I think coaching at its best is helping people overcome those type of obstacles, but really get them functioning at an optimal level going forward. And I think as a specialism, neurodiversity coaching, ADHD coaching, I think it's going to explode. I mean, it's already a growing area of coaching, but I can see it only getting bigger and bigger as more people become aware.
Yeah, definitely. And we're excited to be bringing in the ADHD specialism as part of the Coach Business
actually,
School.
let's talk about that, yeah.
So that is going to be our new specialism running hopefully in the spring. So it just give coaches, again, another kind of thing in their toolkit of that you're going to get people that come to you that probably might not even realise they're neurodiverse, they've got ADHD, but you'll have those kind of those tools to be like, oh, actually, I think this might work for that person, because what might work for an average person, it might be a different tool that person needs, and kind of having, again, another layer of things that you can use to support people.
Yeah, I think it's mega. And one of our other specialisms, and when we're talking specialisms, these are bolt-on trainings to a qualified coach effectively. Yeah. Within our diploma course, you get to choose one of these specialisms. And the other specialism we have is alcohol-free performance coaching, because that's very much in my story. But I also think neurodiversity and alcohol are very linked.
Yes.
I think very often you'll see one and the same. And I think we know this through the research that lots of neurodiverse turn to alcohol as a way to try and self-medicate a busy brain, for example, which leads to its own problems in itself. So I think those two specialisms, whilst they're separate, are also really linked. And I also think those two specialisms are probably in most coaching conversations.
Yeah.
Whether they ever surface or not, but they probably are with most people in the room. There's probably a link to alcohol, a link to neurodiversity of some shape or form very often. So having those two extra skills in your coaching backpack, I think, is going to be mega.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you say, the link between neurodiversity and alcohol, there's a lot of links between, people describe it as addictive personalities, but it's not necessarily that. It's about this, with someone with neurodiversity, is chasing dopamine, and obviously alcohol gives you dopamine, but after that first drink you're not then getting any more of that, but you keep chasing it. And it's the same with sugar, it's the same with even doing something you enjoy. You get that instant dopamine and then it wears off, so you don't want to do it anymore. But obviously when you're thinking about sugar and different things, if that actually thing is addictive, like alcohol and sugar, all of those things, it becomes part of, you almost keep trying to get this thing back, and it becomes part of what you do. And
part of it becomes the problem itself, or the problem that it appeared to solve, it actually starts to create down the line. And I see so much of that for alcohol-free performance coaching. It's the same thing. So people get stuck in those unwanted behaviours.
Yeah. And
again, where coaching, I think, does its best work, in truth, is when someone is struggling with a something, whether it's, a wonderfully brilliant different brain, or it's a relationship with alcohol that's no longer serving them. Mm-hmm. I think they're the moments people are most likely to reach out to a coach, for example, to get that extra support. They can't quite get there on their own, but with skillful coaching might help them understand their brain better, create better patterns around what it is they need to do to achieve and live more vibrant, healthy lives, or take a break from alcohol, for example. Yeah. But in doing so, if we look at it more broadly from a coaching angle, that's transformative to people's lives. That's real game-changing experiences that people will tell their friends about and their friends about. And you'll get those little notes that we spoke about at the start of the conversation of, thank you so much, this has changed my life. And that's, I think, why you're doing it, and why you were drawn to, that vocational career that is teaching, but now you're getting that joy back, that feedback from your coaching, which is pretty cool. Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Joy is the perfect word, I think. It does bring me so much joy. But both sides of it, doing the coaching, being part of the Coach Business School, supporting the other coaches. And I suppose that's where the teaching element in me as well, because I love that part of it. So not just working with someone on a one-to-one or running a workshop, actually being in there and supporting our coaches, or they come to me and be like, actually, I'm feeling a little bit like this, Louise, I'm a bit like overwhelmed. I'm like, it's fine. And we talk it through, and always have mini coaching sessions as part of our support we offer, which is great. And definitely brings me so much joy. Yeah, and the teaching bit, I think a lot of coaches end up going into teaching. Whether they were teachers that come into coaching that end up back into teaching. And when I say teaching, I mean, we learn so much incredible information. Why not share it as part of your coaching adventure? So I think coaching doesn't have to all be about one-to-one coaching. In fact, that's a really small part of what I do. A lot of what I do is teach. Yeah. Whether it's at the Professional Footballers Association, their business school, I teach Cranfield University. I teach. What am I teaching? The same concepts that I'm learning in our diploma, whether it's positive psychology concepts or how to build a growth mindset or resilience, or in your instance, teaching how to run a beautifully different brain. Like, I think most coaches will find, and they probably don't realise this when they go into coaching, that actually teaching some of the insights that they learn becomes a bigger part of what they actually do than they probably realise, which is really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, doing that teaching, like whether it be a workshop, a talk, whatever you do, there is huge scope for that once you've got those coaching skills to go in all different directions with that and stand up in a room full of people and share all the things and your experience.
Yeah, and that's a really big part of the economics of creating a successful coaching practice, I believe, actually is having an array of things that you do, not only one-to-one, but also workshops that you can go into organisations or groups that might have a funnel into one-to-one. And very often it's the workshops that open the door easier because it's quite a low barrier to entry. It's added value they can maybe put out to many staff, especially if it's online. You build a relationship, and that might be where you actually end up doing your one-to-one coaching, or you might build a thriving coaching business around workshops and training alone.
Yeah.
I think that's another important thing to highlight about coaching. Whilst you learn those foundational skills of coaching, what you end up doing might be very different, but still associated to those foundational skills. For example, it might be running training, but you're leaning into those coaching skills, and maybe you're developing new skills of teaching, or in your instance, you've got the skill of teaching, you've just now added the skill of coaching, and it's still lighting us up though. It comes back to that same thing. It's adding value to people's lives. It's an opportunity for them to learn things they didn't know before. That's going to help them perform better, live better. Like, this is what, for me, coaching is all about. It's about giving back. It's about feeling like you matter. It's about contributing. And the brilliant thing about all this is most people haven't got a clue. And I mean that really, really nicely, in that they've been too busy running their own busy lives to be reading all the books on positive psychology, to learning all the concepts and tools and techniques that we learn in coaching. So when you share this, it has that real sense of, wow.
Yeah.
You sort of get in your bubble of coaching and think, oh, everyone knows this. And then you go and share it with a group and they're like, I've never heard of any of these concepts. This is going to change my life going forward in terms of running my brain, or transforming a relationship with alcohol, or dealing with resilience, or some of the tools from positive psychology. That for me is the brilliant energy of it. Everything that's connected to coaching essentially is an opportunity to give back and contribute and feel like you matter. And I think that's why we all come to coaching effectively.
Yeah. I think a massive part of coaching is the accountability as well. You can read a book and tell yourself you're going to do something, especially if you're neurodiverse, or do it for a week and it drops off. But actually, if you've got a coach, or you've had these experiences and you've got accountability, and you've got to check in with someone and be like, oh, actually, no, I did do it. Or someone's just checking in with you. How did that go? How did that action? I think that makes a massive, massive difference for people in actually making that progress and committing to things and building those habits and habit stacking, so it becomes part of your everyday life rather than a bit of a whim. I'm going to do this for a week and then it drops off, and then you try something else, and so you never really implement it, so it becomes part of who you are.
Yeah, and I think that is the difference about not only training as a coach but then coaching others. Essentially, brilliant coaching is training your clients to run their own brains, and they get better and better. And I think that's why it's transformative, because they understand how their brain works better. So they realise, maybe I need to bake in accountability or structure to achieve this goal, start to unpick their own limiting beliefs, start to then unpick their limiting beliefs at source before they come to coaching, which again just changes the world that people live in. It allows them to achieve goals, become more resilient, and therefore it's transformative. They would never have got to that on their own. And I think that's ultimately, for me, the power of coaching.
Yeah, completely. I think I've learnt so much about myself from doing the coaching course and becoming a coach. Like, I know so much more about myself than I did 3 years ago, and again, like we said, I think awareness is key. The more you know about yourself, the more you can put things in place to help yourself and become the person that you want to be.
Yeah, I love it. And Lou, if people listening want to get in touch with you, where is the best place to find or connect with you?
So on LinkedIn, I'm just Louise Ramage, and on Instagram, I'm at A Time For Us Coaching.
Brilliant. Lou, we did it.
Thank you.
Good work. Hopefully you enjoyed that conversation with Louise. Don't forget, If you want to come and train with myself and Louise, who's a big part of all of our training, go to coachbusiness.school and please follow along if you're listening to this on a podcast, or subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and I shall see you very soon. Until next time, keep coaching. Your coach, Andy.